What's up, you filthy casuals? Welcome to Casual Shenanigans Gaming, a podcast all about everything PC gaming related. I'm one of your hosts, Germ Gaming, and we have a lot of people in the call tonight. So we'll start on the left, my left. I don't know if this is the same for everyone else. It is. Okay. Yoshi, welcome to the podcast.
How's it going, guys?
And Dave?
Hey, guys.
I was going to try to come up with some Irish joke, but I don't have one off the top of my head, so welcome back, Scanner Barkley.
Hello.
The only Irish person I know.
Yay.
Knowing you, Jeremiah, it just would have been a Scottish joke.
What's the difference? Okay, and Joel. Joel, welcome to the podcast.
Sup, bitches?
Why? All right, so not to derail immediately, but as far as I know, the only difference between Scotland and Ireland is the kilts, right? Is that pretty much it, or does everyone wear kilts? Are kilts ubiquitous?
There's mild cultural differences, but we can wear kilts if we really want to, because back in the Brehon Law days we used to all wear kilts and have gay marriage and divorce and shit. We could do whatever the fuck we wanted, basically. And then the Catholic Church showed up and fucked it all up, so...
And all I know is America's in the category of former British vassals who won their freedom, but I guess Scotland
the way
and
you said it, the way you said
there.
You're allowed to wear. Wait, was there a time you weren't allowed to wear kilts? Is that what you fought for? Oh man,
yeah, we took away kilt wearing. We basically fought for our right to cross dress. Something the English denied us, strangely enough, but are happy enough to do themselves, as seen in Monty Python and various other comedy classics.
Maybe they were trying to help you.
They probably thought so.
Kilts.
Yeah, we want to wear a dress, damn it. Get the fuck out of here.
All right, we begin the podcast as we've begun it for last week and now this week with Patreon shoutouts. Thank you to everyone who supports us on Patreon, and we have 2 new Patreon patrons. And now Joel will say your name because he wanted to.
I have it up, but the thing you said you were going to do last time, you said you were going to make them bold, you didn't.
These are the 2 new ones that are in. I have it in the show notes. Where you told me to put everything. Remember, you were fussing at me this afternoon, put everything in the show notes. We can all read it there.
Well, I had show notes, but I had the other thing open because I thought you'd keep that in the same.
Oh, gotcha. If you had more than one monitor, Joel, you could really.
I have a giant 1440p monitor. I don't need 2.
Whatever.
You peasants.
All right, so.
I'll read them off.
Yes, do that.
First is a very hard word. Estrella Vinces. Estrella Vinces, thank you so much for your support. You are an awesome and beautiful person. And just Jake. Thank you, Jake, for not having a last name. You're like a movie character. Jake.
Movie characters have names. You're a director, Joel.
No, in movies, you don't hear a lot of last names all the time. It's just Jake. Sure. Just Jake or Josh or John or...
It's true, yeah.
Now we know how deep that script went for Joel's movie.
You have no idea.
Actually, we don't need surnames, though.
Does Norman have a last name? Surnames. I don't remember hearing a last name.
Yeah, you don't hear it, but he has a last name.
Okay. Well, as long as the character has one, so he has that with him.
You want to hear sophisticated... You want to know what his sophisticated...
Is it Cornelius, Joel? Is it Cornelius?
His last name is Brandt.
Brandt?
Norman Brandt.
Hey, that's not too bad.
You should have hidden the name somewhere in the movie. It should have been this big thing when the movie's huge.
It actually is hidden. Yeah, they don't ever say it. You can see it, though.
I've never heard it.
There's a power bill on the table.
I've seen an early cut of the movie, and I haven't heard his name.
No, it's it's written down on words. You don't ever hear it.
I gotcha. Okay. All right, well, news. We have news this week. Joel, are you doing time codes?
I am, yep.
Okay. Now, this first news item, I'm guessing is a Joel news item because I have no idea what this is about. Something about the PS4 and the Naughty Dog team. Joel, what's going on with that? Yeah, what's going on in the world of consoles this week?
This is actually really cool. So
I'm sure it is.
It's rumored. If you guys ever freaking cared about consoles, if you had one, it's pretty cool. Okay.
I have all of them, Joel.
No.
We've been over this.
I feel you, Joel. I feel you.
No, this is cool if you... this is exactly the same kind of thing that happens in video cards. It's when, a major NVIDIA update comes out and really boosts the power of your NVIDIA card, right? Mm-hmm. So, anyways, there's a rumor that the Naughty Dog team, there's a group within Naughty Dog's development team called ICE. And what they are is they just work on tooling the engine and all that kind of stuff. I think I'm guessing that they work on the engine that is that Naughty Dog uses for Last of Us and all that games. So there's a rumor that we're going to see the next Uncharted 4 at this E3. And what they've been working on through some articles and the interviews is they said that what ICE Team is working on is being able to unlock very, very deep, low-level code to boost the PS4. And this is something that the PCs can't do because no developer ever uses it because there's so many different PCs and so many CPUs and stuff. But they're enabling like such low-level CPU code, and that's what the PS4 kind of planned on. So that once they get better, they wanted to have room to grow with graphics, so they allowed to have extremely low-level like GPU and CPU like coding. That because it's very specific to a particular CPU, they can do that, so they can boost some more power on it. So apparently they said it's just going to blow. They're going to blow the Xbox One out of the water soon. So
it'll blow out the Xbox One copy of The Last of Us. Like it just
no,
won't compare.
the Naughty Dog is going to allow it for rest of everything else. Like Sony, they're going to give it to Sony, and then they're going to allow it to do it for everyone else. So go out with different.
Okay, well that would be cool if they did that.
That's just cool to see if someone someone doing something like that. So
yeah, the ICE team's full of a bunch of geniuses. You should have, if you had listened to anything that the creators of Naughty Dog had said in the past for how they did stuff for Jak and Daxter on the PS2, it was unheard of for what they have done to certain specific parts of those games to make it possible.
It's just like, the amazing thing that they can do on this, because like Watch Dogs is coming out on PS3 and Xbox 360, and the minimum specs for PC is, I think, 8 gigs of RAM or 6 gigs of RAM. That's what it is, 6 gigs of RAM. But I'm like, how the crap are they doing this on 256 megabytes? So I mean, like, it's just cool knowing that the PS4 is going to have room to grow for eventual games, because a lot of PS4 games are 1080p. I think Watch Dogs is coming out at 900p, but I hope they do a patch like Assassin's Creed did from 900 to 1080p. So I think we're going to just see a lot of boosts in what they're going to be able to do. Like they haven't even barely begun to tackle the power that they can push out so far. So
my question, Joel, is, I mean, optimization is cool, and getting the most efficient use of your hardware, that's all fine and dandy, but as a PC gamer, why isn't there an option for PS4 users to just like throw money at the problem? Like, is there like a $3,000 video card that I could get to like plug into the back of my PS4? Is that an option? I just prefer that, honestly.
Plug it in via USB.
I do think it's a problem that they're already trying to do stuff like this. I really think the new consoles are severely underpowered.
They're not trying to. It's just that, like, dude, they haven't barely like.
It's been the story of both these consoles.
Skyrim. It's a huge difference.
No, that's true, and that definitely will happen. But like, as soon as the console came out, it was already behind. Like, it was behind before it came out, and they've been putting out inferior versions. Like, you like to talk about, could you buy something for the price of the Xbox One or the Xbox 360 when it came out? Could you buy a PC that could play games as well? And no, you couldn't really. Like, you could get close, but you couldn't. But these days, that's definitely not the case. It's probably because both console manufacturers didn't want to sell their hardware at a giant loss. I mean, that's so they put cheaper stuff in. Yeah. But it's, I think it's good. I think it's awesome that the ICE team is trying to get that high level of optimization. That can only be good for games. I'm not complaining about that, but I think it's very telling that the systems are fairly underpowered if they're trying to do stuff like this less than a year after launch.
Well, at least you don't have to upgrade every 2 years.
You don't have to. You also don't have to enjoy better looking games.
That's my personal least favorite part about PC gaming is the guy that holds the gun to your head and he's like, upgrade.
I hate there is a guy with a gun that just goes, you better upgrade.
Actually, yeah, he's not wrong. The guy with the gun's called Dave, and he works with you, Joel.
I know.
I have a name, Joel.
The gun in my head, which that's like, I love PC gaming, and when Half-Life 3 comes out, if my computer somehow does not run it at full, I will buy the next graphic. I will buy whatever it takes to play the game, because that's the only game I actually give a crap about having full graphics. The rest don't give a I do.
You'll never upgrade your PC.
I do when I like pretty much have to. I only did this time just because my movie kind of needed it. My other computer's a little bit sluggish editing HD footage, but other than that, it was fine.
Joel sad about Half-Life 3.
Oh, that's
I'm the rain on the parade, buddy.
Sorry, we're on next news item. We can fight about consoles later. That just needs to be like our weekly casual conversation. Just put out a bonus episode where you and I argue about consoles. Metro Redux has officially been announced. This is kind of weird. Dave, have you heard about this?
Yeah, I did it actually today.
Okay, so Metro Redux is not like the third game in the series, like you would think when someone would announce a new game in the series. It is actually the two previous Metro games being re-released, which is not that uncommon to do with games, but it is uncommon for games that are this new. I mean, Last Light is a year old, less than a year old.
Yeah, a year.
It's a little bit older than that because it came out before Tomb Raider.
It's a year and
Okay.
a few months. It's
Okay, so less than 2 years old, and 2033 is what, 3 years old?
4.5.
Four and a half. Okay, so
Yeah.
not that old. Now, 2033 is going to be ported into Last Light's engine, so that should be pretty nice.
That game looked amazing originally, though.
Yeah, it does look really
Oh,
awesome.
man.
But Last Light, that engine did look really awesome. So I mean that's good. It's optional, of course. I mean, you don't have to buy this. It's not like they're hurting people, but it just seems a little bit weird that they're releasing a re-release, especially of the game that's like 1 year old. But they said that Last Light will still get new features and better graphics and will have all its DLC bundled in. So you could kind of look at it as like a Game of the Year edition for both of them.
Yeah, the only thing is, think of it. I mean, you think of it just, it's the game system, but it's honestly, it's more probably has to do with Sony going to developers saying, you guys have great games. How hard it would be to upgrade this to be able to put it on the PS4 to have more games coming out during the first 6 to 7 months of the PS4's launch cycle or the Xbox?
Yeah,
I mean, because
yeah.
they don't have a lot of they don't have the big games like Halo and Gears and stuff that are really going to sell the systems just yet. So all they have really right now, I mean, Watch Dogs is going to be the first really, really massive game that's coming out. Infamous was pretty big too, but definitely not as big as the Watch Dogs. But I love seeing that. I mean, like even with Tomb Raider, that's awesome. I think it's cool because it's like, I almost wish I didn't get it on the PC just because it would have been a fun game to play on my PS4 at the time to get it because there was only Killzone right when I first got it. I was like, okay, Killzone, that was the only one I wanted to play. But
All right, so for any of you who are worried about Facebook buying Oculus and you're like, it's going to ruin Oculus, and then there were people like me who were saying, let's just wait and see what happens. Don't worry, all your fears can now be put to rest. There will now be Oculus Rifts in select Chuck E. Cheese's around the country for a 6-week trial where you can, and scanner your videos frozen, by the way. But a 6 weeks trial of in-store Oculus Rift installations, which will let people play games in Chuck E. Cheese on the Oculus Rift.
there's a Chuck E. Cheese, I think in Roanoke near me. It's only about an hour away or hour and a half away. I'm kind of tempted.
Joel,
it's not gonna be all of
you can't
them.
steal it, okay? You'll get caught, all right? It's just not worth it.
Now, Oculus, it doesn't appear that Oculus themselves is directly doing this, so we don't know a ton about this yet. All we know is that there will be these VR game things going into Chuck E. Cheese's. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about this. This isn't like a fully fleshed out news story yet, so don't run with that too much, but it still is...
Who here is actually excited about Oculus Rift?
I'm excited.
I'm absolutely amazed.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
mean-
it's been a childhood like dream of like being able to be in a game kind of. So I'm really hoping this takes off. So
Yeah, I'm excited. We'll see. I mean, I don't think I'm going to drive to a Chuck E. Cheese to play one because...
I don't think I will either. But
I mean, you could pass for a youth. You know, you might be able to get in there.
it's mostly because I'm not a giant. That's why.
We're not doing this. We're
I'm
not doing
shorter.
this tonight. We're not doing this tonight.
I'm excited to watch their lawsuit play out. That's going to be pretty interesting.
Oh, the first kid who like wears the headset and runs into a post with their head or something?
No, you didn't know that Oculus are being sued
For what?
by Zenimax?
No.
Oh, I'm dropping
I
news
heard
bombs
about
on Germ.
Add a new bullet, Joel.
Drop it hard, man. Drop it hard.
Zenimax, parent company of Bethesda and General Evil Bastards, are actually suing Oculus for what they feel is proprietary technology and such. Apparently, what happened was early in the Oculus development, Zenimax helped a lot. This is what they're claiming with the development of Oculus, and John Carmack, the guy who recently left Zenimax to work with Oculus, he was like spearheading a lot of this joint project to get Oculus off the ground. So now Zenimax feel like they're owed something because Oculus
Welcome to the party of people who thinks Oculus owes something.
reputedly Oculus were working on this kind of deal of how to like kind of pay back the work that Zenimax had effectively financed. and then they got sold or bought by Facebook, and it all just like boop.
Ah.
It's like when a hotter girl comes along, the phone just stops being answered. That's what Zenimax are feeling now. Like they're feeling like the ugly chick at the party, basically. But that's what they're claiming anyway in their lawsuit. They had some very stern words for Oculus on it, and Oculus are just saying it's all bullshit. So it's going to be very interesting to see what way it plays out. They did actually file as well in Texas.
Well, I'm sure Facebook has lawyers that specialize in this type of thing, considering the number of people who have come forward to say that they helped with Facebook and then got screwed out of their share in it. So
yeah,
that's probably a very good pairing of those two companies.
Exactly.
For this
it won't
situation.
go anywhere, but Zenimax will probably get some cash.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's... Oh, well. I don't know. I still think it's too early to judge really anything about the Oculus Rift or the Oculus situation. We kind of just have to see how it all shakes out. I imagine that things aren't going to turn out super well just because it doesn't seem like public opinion and everything else is really with them. But, they release a good product. People will probably forgive them pretty quickly. But
I think whoever comes out with an app, like, I think VR has a better chance with the PS4 only because they're going to have a little bit more dedicated and easier to just put on, like, and just have a good time with it. Where I think Oculus is you're going to have some amazing stuff come out in PC. I mean, like absolutely phenomenal stuff. You're going to have this insane high-res texture. Dave was showing me like the was it Unreal Engine 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like imagine Unreal Engine 4 and you just get to walk around a cool spacecraft and explore something just in such high, res detail. It's going to be amazing. But because it's going to be harder to find those experiences on PC. I think it's not going to be as easy as just like a menu and, I want to go into a fun experience. It's going to be a little harder. But I do think Facebook has a big chance if they come out with a really awesome social app that's like, hey, me, you, Dave, everyone, we're going to sit around a virtual campfire in some awesome looking desert or whatever, and bam, we're right there, and it's awesome and it works. I think then it'll catch on. But if they just do silly, apps, everyone's just doing all these random apps on PC and it's hard to find them and you got to install this and that, it's not going to take off very well. So, but I'm hoping one of them does well so the other can kind of complement each other so that it does do well.
Yeah, some competition would be good, even though they're not like direct competitors. I don't know. We'll see. Very, very short bit of news. Steam in-home streaming has now been released. So if you've been wanting to try it out, you couldn't get into the beta, you can now go do that. You just need to, there's plenty of guides online that can show you how to sign up for it or how to get it activated. So we're not going to walk through that now, but I tried it last extensively. Night. It works really well, doesn't it?
Holy crap. It works really well. And it's like that. It's super fast.
It's pretty awesome.
I was using Joy's old MacBook. Just, it's really slow, but oh my gosh. I was playing Dark Souls, which is a PC game, it's not on the Mac. Downstairs, my Xbox controller is still connected wirelessly upstairs. Flawless, 60 FPS, like it looked gorgeous. I think the only thing difference was like the bitrate almost felt like high res or 1080p YouTube, maybe a little bit better than 1080p YouTube. So had a little bit of, but it was still more than fine to play. It was really awesome. So if I told Dave if they come out with a Steamcast or Chromecast little dongle or something to just connect to HDMI, it's super small, I would get one of those.
Amazing. Yeah, that would be amazing. Scanner, I'm sorry, I hate to keep bringing it up, but your video's frozen. I figured.
Yeah, it's a beautiful frozen photo though.
I'm not worried about it. I don't want you to have to keep messing with it the whole time.
I'm not making
it's a pretty
too
picture.
Stupid a face, basically. So
no, yeah, see, it could have ended on worse faces, so it could be a lot worse. We'll move on.
It'd be cool if they actually added an option for the in-home streaming that allowed you to increase the bit rate of the stream.
I think you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, there were bitrate options in the beta.
Quality and like performance or something.
Nice.
Dave, when I was playing it, I was getting a bitrate of like 15 megabit per second.
That's right.
Which is, that's really stinking good.
I mean, that's streaming like high quality, like really high quality HD video or something.
That's way better. That's like over double Netflix HD.
Yeah,
so that's what I was going to say is that Joel's computer can definitely handle that compression. So there really ought to be some good options like that.
Yeah. It was good enough that I never noticed compression while I was playing. I only noticed it when I was watching it back later.
Nice.
So, Alienware. Alienware is making a Steam machine. And they have said that their Steam machine is going to be very challenging because it's going to be the least profitable system that they've ever sold. Reason being, they say in their efforts to be competitive, they are really not selling this for much of a profit margin, or is not as much of a profit margin as most Alienware computers, which are very much overpriced for the amount of performance you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they say they're very excited about Steam machines. At least, of course, this is the PR line. Who knows? But they say they're very excited. They think it's really awesome. They think that the 75 million active Steam users are worth pursuing. And, you know, they're excited about it, but they just wanted to warn people if they were expecting this to be like a huge moneymaker for them. It's probably not going to be a huge moneymaker, at least initially. But, you know, if SteamOS turns out to be so lightweight and as highly optimized as they keep teasing that it's going to be, it might be the type of thing where as component prices drop, they might not need to upgrade these boxes quite as often in their lineup, so they might be able to increase their profit margins over time. I'm assuming they have some sort of plan like that, or they wouldn't be doing it. But
Yeah, I would wager that even just the cost of it is, you know, you're buying something that you're using. It's not that expensive. Yeah, you have 750 million Steam users, but it's also the Wild West. And the people that use Steam are people that are enthusiasts like us most of the time. People who are Steam users, game users, generally know more about computers. Why am I going to buy a lower quality computer? I might as well get a PS4 that's backed up by a big company like Sony, where the computer itself is not backed up by anybody but freaking Microsoft. And that's it. You know what I mean? You're not going to have nice quality updates. It's just gonna be. Doesn't do anything different than just you going out and buying a computer, like a bare bones kit. Doesn't do anything different or anything better. That's the problem with Steam machines, is they don't do anything better than you just picking a random computer online. That's it. Or just buying a mini computer you can buy on Newegg anywhere.
Oh, to be the first guy who puts a picture of his Steam machine on the Master Race subreddit. He's gonna get wrecked.
There may actually be a very small demographic of people that might have like hopped onto Steam for some of those like 250 like Christmas sale games and stuff like that. They've got some platformers, maybe a couple older shooters, and maybe they can't even play them, but they're like, man, this is like 20 games for $10. I'll pick these up from Slick Deals or whatnot.
I mean, I would feel good about it just recommending them as pre-built machines when people ask for recommendations, because most pre-built machines that are under $1,000 make big compromises. Mm-hmm. And these Steam machines looked like they're slightly better deals and they're slightly less crappy. So, I mean, that might just be like an easier recommendation you can make to somebody. And if they gain any sort of market share, it might have a little bit of name recognition that can help them out.
I think something I said a long time ago when we were talking about Steam machines is you're buying a $400 like cheap PC, where you're buying a $400 PS4 that has like years and years of development on, where it only takes about a year to come up with a little case factor. You're not getting that like quality of it. And I think what they needed to do is they could actually get the price super low for these. I was gonna buy a mini Steam machine if it wasn't built by 100,000 different third party. I thought it was gonna be an official Steam Valve little computer box that was like maybe $350, like just basically a console size like quality version, backed up by Steam. That would have been amazing. I think that would have sold. But in fact, it's third party, just mini PCs. That's all it is. You
don't know that someone's not going to make something like that. Just no one has yet. I mean, these things aren't even out yet, so it's a little too early to judge it. But most of them are not crappy $400 ones. They're like $1,500, or like $800 to $2,000 seem to be kind of the range that most of them fell in.
Yeah,
they're
but that's not enthusiasts. Go ahead.
Yeah, their best bet for a market is, as rude as this will sound to say, the ignorant and the ill-informed.
Yeah.
That's their target
The Best
market.
Buy crowd. If you go to Best Buy and want to buy a gaming PC, Steam machines are for you.
Yeah, or if you're a 16-year-old kid who wants to get a PC and it's Christmas time, what are you going to do? Give your parents a list of parts, or are you going to go Steam box? And they'll walk in as... technologically blind as your parents might be, they can walk into any shop and ask for anything.
Yeah,
it happens all the time now with
games, this is what my kid wants.
PS4.
It is a lot easier to go in and say, can I get the Alienware Steam machine, than to go in and be like, I'd like the Cyber Power PC Zeus Lightning Bolt Aventador 6, or whatever they've called their latest computer.
Would you like your CPU overclocked? What? What did you ask me?
Super bus.
Is that legal?
Ethernet LAN.
Oh, I'm sure Best Buy will come up with some sort of crappy rip-off service to do that for you, considering like all the stupid things they'll charge you for now. They'll charge you like, what's it, $50 to do a virus scan. They'll charge you $40 to do Windows Update.
I think Steam could have had an awesome seller in their hand, just going into a store, a Target or Walmart or whatever, and on the shelf is just a nice black box, this Steam machine, and it's just 3 models, like the $100 cheap Chromecast one, $350 one, and maybe $800 or $1,000. Just
but that's not the PC. That's not how the PC works.
It's not supposed to be a PC though. That's why it's failing. Like
it's not failing, Joel. It hasn't come out yet. It's not failing.
Yeah, it's failing. How many people have now dropped support to make Steam machines? How many?
There's
Dozens.
like 15.
No, dozens. Dozens of company have already dropped.
Literally dozens of us.
Wait, are not making stuff.
No, a
for
lot
them.
of companies that were declaring making Steam machines now they're not doing it. It's not priority anymore.
There's still like 15 companies doing it. That's not nobody, and these are big companies. It's not a failure, Joel. It's not a failure. It's not released.
I'm gonna go. I'll bet everything I have that it will fail miserably. Seriously, I'll bet everything it will fail miserably. Because what is it going to do better? Right?
On this day, the 22nd of May, Joel bets everything that Steam machines will fail.
Joel bets $2.30.
Like back it up. Like it's not going to work. They're not marketing it towards anybody.
Oh, I don't think it's going to work either. I'm not betting everything I have though.
I'm just saying, like, just a year from now, it's not gonna. It'll be gone. I think SteamOS might be something they might still consider, but unless they decide to go, hey, we need to market this towards somebody. Because if I was going to recommend a PC to someone, I'm not going to be like, oh, hey, you're going to need the motherboard, blah blah. Someone who really just wants to get into it, who's never had one before, dude, buy a Steam machine. And if they like that, they might possibly want to actually get a PC and do it themselves. But this, they don't have to install the crap themselves, but they can still have a PC.
Valve are just being super fucking smart the way they're always super fucking smart. They're letting somebody else do the work and take the risk and make all the effort. And then at the end of the day, Valve will sit there with all their little billions of brainwashed sheeples on the internet going, Gaben, we love you. And if it works, they'll be like, yeah, we're geniuses. And if it fails, they'll be like, meh, we'll move on. That's it. That's Valve. That's how they operate.
They didn't become this successful by accident. That is kind of their model. I mean,
let somebody else
love them or hate them. Love them or hate them. They know how to win.
All I know is, Joel, if the machines actually succeed, your Norman backup hard drives have a date with a pound of tannerite. You bet everything.
All right.
Watch that.
So, next news story. YouTube has had live streaming for years, whether or not you knew this. It's kind of hard to set up, and it's YouTube, which, YouTube being the biggest, or I don't know, the most standout kid in the schoolyard gets picked on the most. They are simultaneously one of the best things to happen to videos on the internet and the worst at the same time. But they've had live streaming for years, and people haven't really used it much for gaming. I've seen people use it maybe a half dozen times to stream games. But they are looking to change this by possibly buying Twitch. Now, it's very important, the possible part. Talks are in an early stage. A deal is not imminent. They were very clear about that. Of course, the internet blew up and went crazy about how YouTube is buying Twitch. It's a done deal. It's going to happen. They're buying them for $1 billion. That's absolutely not a done deal. Although I'm guessing when YouTube comes knocking on your door with $1 billion, it's a very likely that this is going to happen.
You have my attention.
But it's not a done deal. Now, I'm sure they want to buy Twitch because their live streaming hasn't really gone many places for games, but Twitch is integrated into Origin, Uplay, and both next-gen consoles. So Twitch kind of has the market share. Twitch is kind of seen as the cool, hip video streaming service to a lot of gamers. People like Twitch.
I've heard of Ustream and stuff. I've seen before. They both seem like the exact same kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Just Twitch is game dedicated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't actually even know that. Okay, so that's used for a lot more different type of things, or all.
Yeah,
sorts
Twitch
of things.
is pretty much all about games. It's easy to find people streaming games. It's it's just laid out really well for games.
Oh, okay.
It's not the smoothest running service, as you guys who watch this on Twitch know. We have our fair amount of technical problems, but overall, it's a pretty good service. So what do you guys think about YouTube possibly buying Twitch? Does this concern you?
No.
No? Why does it not concern you?
Because who gives a shit? It's going to get sold anyway, because that's why you set up anything on the internet is to sell it.
Yep.
That's the point. You're not doing it because it's fun or enjoyable. You're doing it because it's work, and work pays you.
No, Scanner, but Oculus, they cared about the community.
Yeah,
and,
of course they did. They cared about the money.
as most good business people do.
Exactly. Like,
How
if
dare
you walk
they.
up to me, if you're a businessman and you walk up to me and you say, "Hi, I want to sell you something. I want you to invest in my company." The first thing I'm going to ask you is, you better be all about the profit. Are you all about the profit? If you say no, get the fuck out of my face. Why would I invest anything into
That's not an
your
investment at that point. It's a
wishy-washy
donation
ways?
to a charity.
It's not going to happen. Just ever. So I don't mind YouTube picking up Twitch. There'll be some streamlining, as there always is, and there'll be some probable degradation of service, maybe. But here's the main thing. One of the main reasons why all these changes happened on YouTube was the constant growth of the YouTube user base.
Mm-hmm.
Constant. Never-ending growth, never-ending requirement to store more and more data and find more and more efficient ways to store that data and stream that data. It's hard to see that happening with Twitch. We're already at a I don't want to say like a peak, but we're at a very high kind of penetration into the mainstream with regards to gaming. Like, bigger than it's ever been, gaming is a thing now that everybody knows about, and a lot of people do through various mediums, like be it mobile or console or PC or whatever. It's not going to suddenly grow really super quick just because YouTube own it.
Right.
You know what I mean? The broadcast base isn't going to grow. The viewer base isn't going to grow. It's going to stay the same thing for a long time before some cultural switch clicks and all of a sudden gaming is just this massive primary source of entertainment. Mm-hmm. There's probably something else behind the deal that people aren't seeing.
It's probably technology. They want patents or they want infrastructure.
Yeah,
well, I mean, people are already doing it already on YouTube. I mean,
something.
Gaming's already all over freaking YouTube. Everywhere you go is ads for it.
No, but it's the live streaming. That's probably why they want it. Is there something about live streaming that YouTube has not been able to crack in the same way Twitch has, and they see that Twitch is doing something that they can't do, and the easiest way for them to get that is to take all of their money.
I wouldn't even say it's something they can't actually crack at it, because it's like one of those things where I think Google Plus actually I liked better than Facebook. I don't really like either social stuff as much, like just actually doing it actively, but their setup, I really liked how they did it. But if everyone's already on Facebook, you're not going to get people to change, and I think YouTube can totally do it if they wanted to, but people are never going to come over because it just has that connotation of YouTube, you know? I think it's just like Twitch became that really quick, the streaming, that's where people go.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Why aren't you guys doing Ustream?
No particular reason. I mean, because a lot of people were streaming on Twitch. I started doing Twitch. Twitch works.
If Ustream works better than Twitch, like quality-wise, why wouldn't you want to have on there?
Audience. Here's the key issue with YouTube, and it will be the key issue with Twitch. You're not buying anything. What you're buying is an audience. Mm-hmm. That's what's worth $1 billion to Google or YouTube or whoever's actually paying the money for this. It's you're buying eyes on the screen. Like, they could have gone and bought Hitbox, which is arguably a better service than Steam or than Twitch, has better quality of stream, has better integration, better dashboards, better everything, but doesn't have an audience. So it's got no value. Doesn't matter how good it actually does what it does, nobody's watching. The value of Twitch are all the eyes on the screen and how many ads you can slip those eyes while they're watching stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that a lot of people, particularly younger viewers, may not know is when you see a business being bought for some absurd amount of money or what seems like an absurd amount of money, the valuation of a business, only part of that is the physical parts of the business, like their equipment, their technology, all that stuff is a part of what a business is worth. But another part of that is their audience, like Scanner said, their viewer base, listener base, user base, whatever the company is. Because once you've built up a successful audience of a couple million people, that is incredibly valuable. That's where a lot of this like $1 billion valuation could be.
That's also why people buy and sell Facebook groups. Like they grow them really big.
Yep. Or Twitter accounts.
Or Twitter accounts, yeah, just for the audience.
Yep, it's about the audience. I mean, because that's hard. As anyone who has a YouTube channel knows, building an audience is not an overnight thing. It's a very hard thing. There's a lot of hard work, careful planning, and a decent amount of luck involved. So if you have a good audience already, that's worth something. So if anyone listening to this, never undervalue the number of people who listen to you, or who, if you own a business or if you run a thing. If you have a lot of people paying attention to that thing, that is valuable. The value of what you do is not just summed up in the physical things you produce, it's the people you influence. So that's why Twitch might be worth $1 billion, which to YouTube is probably nothing. I mean, $1 billion is not, when it comes to large business, $1 billion's not that much. Apple wants to buy Beats for.
And it probably isn't actually
$3 billion?
officially $1 billion. It's like just even like what was the other, like even an Oculus Rift, they weren't being paid. What was it? How many billion?
It was $2 billion, but a
Yeah.
lot of it was stocks.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So it wasn't probably $2 billion straight in cash.
It's not like someone shows up with a briefcase.
It's probably a couple hundred million, and then the rest of that, a lot of that was shares,
was,
other
yeah.
options, whatever.
Apparently, it's all cash.
It was?
The offer for Twitch is reputedly all cash.
Really?
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Now,
well.
that is a little unusual.
Yeah, that's very strange. This is one
And
of
that's
the
why
things
they're
that makes me
selling.
think. This is one of the things that makes me think it's bullshit.
You think so? 'Cause that
An
that's
all cash
unusual.
offer is so rare these days. And then they make this point in the articles that I read about like the FCC or something will need to be sweetened so that they don't, like whoever's in charge of monopolies in the fucking states or whatever, I don't know who they are. That they'll
FCC.
need them on their side so
Yep.
that they don't try and close down the deal. Like they
Yeah,
give
because
a
you can really count on the FCC with
Like-
if the latest net neutrality thing has taught anyone anything, it's that the FCC is really nothing more than a bunch of people who used to work in tech and have connections to tech now
and
making
want
decisions about
to
tech.
make all that cash.
Yeah, but I guess it's better than nothing, but not much. Sometimes worse than nothing, sometimes
What
better
else
than
was
nothing.
weird? Oh yeah, what stood out to me as well about weird is when was a lot like even the concept of YouTube buying it instead of Google buying it struck me as a little odd.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we find out there's like one behind the scenes part of Twitch that YouTube found out about and they're just like, we have to have this thing no matter what. Or it's a patent. That could just be a patent or something that YouTube desperately wants. But if it really is $1 billion in cash, you're right. That's either not real or there's something weird there.
They could be banking a lot on the rise of esports.
Yeah?
That's another consideration, like a lot. Like esports is massive money, like beyond massive. The amount of money that Riot makes right now, the guys behind League of Legends, that's gross cash that they're turning over every year. And it's only going to get bigger with esports. And then you've got COD cracking the X Games and stuff like that with MLG. There's a lot of push right now in the esports scene, and that's going to become very valuable. Esports audience have done nothing but grow, and will continue to grow. So maybe they're banking on that as well. Who knows?
Yeah, and another important thing to keep in mind is when you have as much money as Google, $1 billion isn't that big of a deal. Like, it's not like they're betting the farm on Twitch. I mean, I don't know what the equivalent would be, but it might be the equivalent of me like saying, ooh, I want to pay $1,000 for this piece of technology that'll make my business much better. Like, I'm not gambling everything I have. It's a big chunk of money, but if I lost it all, I'm not going to be homeless on the street. So rest assured that no matter what happens, Google or YouTube is not going to go under because of this Twitch deal.
How ironic if Google lost all their money and they did end up homeless on the street, and then there was a little photo of them asleep on Google Street View.
It is kind of weird to think about. Like, what if Google started losing money? Would they pare back down to just having search and maps or something? Like, what would they jettison in their effort to stay afloat?
Man, I have no idea. It'd be so hard to see a world without Google. Or was it? I don't know if you guys heard. I think there's some rumors about Mac. They've been working on I think a Google type program or a Google type browser or just a search engine. Sorry. I don't have huge hopes in it because they've never really been amazing at that kind of stuff. Usually at their hardware and just regular software stuff. But it just out of a crazy thing, like what if it was like literally something absolutely incredible, like they've been working on for the last. Apparently they've been working on it since Steve Jobs, before Steve Jobs died. And there's a video. There's a rumor is that he has a video of him actually talking about it that they might even show whenever it ever comes out. So, but
Oh wow, the Appleites will freak their shit.
but like
Steve Jobs speaking to them from beyond the grave, they'll fucking lose it. They'll go out and buy a second iPad just to fucking show their support.
We still love you.
Yeah. I know you're not really dead. You're like Elvis. I heard Steve Jobs and Elvis are working on a killer app. It's called Death.
I still want to see a comeback from like Netscape, like out of nowhere, like Netscape just comes back.
You understand that's Internet Explorer, right?
Netscape, really?
Yeah, Netscape Navigator turned into Internet Explorer. Unless I'm totally wrong, someone back me up on this.
What's the other one? What's the other one? The little dog. It was a long.
The little dog.
There was a little. Yeah, there was
If you want to get obscure,
Was it
Wasn't it like
Was it
Fetch or
Lycos?
something?
Was it Lycos?
I have no idea.
Oh, you youngins.
I had Netscape.
It
What
was-
are you youngins? We had a
you're
computer in like '95.
Joel, are you talking about like the search browser with the dog?
Yeah, Lycos in a search engine and web portal established in 1994. Yeah, youngins. Youngins and very tall. Yeah, here we go.
Just throw that in there.
I just put it in this search.
I can't look at Skype
right,
chat
sorry,
while
sorry.
the
Okay,
while
so
the
I'll
podcast.
send it to
is
everyone else.
going. Okay.
No, it would just be funny if like something like that came out of nowhere, like CompuServe come out of the grave like skeletons, like we back, sold our soul to the devils, and we're stronger than ever.
I'm just imagining the news story now. America Online has bought Comcast.
Whoa.
Online, it just purchased Google. Did you guys ever hear about Google's on back at college? Did you ever have that?
Google's on.
You've never heard of freaking Google? Gosh, you are young.
Well, because I haven't heard of the thing you've heard of that makes me young.
No,
It's a
Google's
big
on.
world, Joel.
Google's on. What there was a viral video that went on back in college. I think it was like 2004. It was huge.
I
It was
wasn't in college in 2004.
I know.
Joel.
You were just born. No, you guys have
Be taller,
look, Dave. Have you seen Google's on? I really feel like you have.
I was taller than Joel is now in 2004, if that makes you feel better. Actually, I was taller than Joel is now in the year 2000. So
Look,
sit on that and
search
spin.
up Google's on. This guy made this really creepy video about Google and Amazon kind of coming together, and it was all about like tracking you and everything. But what's crazy is like almost everything that they predicted has come true, and it's really creepy with the iPhone and just all the accelerometers and the GPS stuff. It was really creepy at the time.
Okay, all right. I'm going to give a synopsis here. I looked it up. It's called Epic 2014. It's a Flash movie, which lets you know how old it is. Released in November 2004 by Robin Sloan and Matt Thompson. Original music by Aaron McLaren. That's not really relevant. I'm just reading Wikipedia. It was a presentation they gave at the Poynter Institute. It's a 8-minute long thing, and in the plot, it consists of real life events going from 1989 through 2004. Joel, did your screen freeze? It did. Okay, so we just have Dave and Yoshi with screens that aren't frozen.
I think Joel might
So
have.
it has
I'll take
real
the
events.
opportunity to restart my camera. Oh, he's gone. I'll definitely take the opportunity to restart my camera.
All right, so it's real life events going from 1989 to 2004, and then it goes hypothetical events through 2014. So the real events are in 89, the World Wide Web is invented. In 1994, Amazon.com is launched. 1998, Google comes out. 1999, Blogger is founded. Google News comes out. 2002, Friendster is released. 2003, Google buys Blogger. In 2004, Gmail comes out, or Gmail gets more popular. Hotmail comes out. Picasa is released. Keyhole, now Google Earth, comes out. So that's all stuff that really happened. And now the theoretical stuff that they said was in 2005, Microsoft would buy Friendster in response to Google's action. Apple Computer comes out with the Wi-Fi pod, which allows users to send and receive messages on the go. Google unveils the Google Grid, a universal platform offering an unlimited amount of space and bandwidth that can be used to store anything. Let's see. All right, so this is what Joel's talking about. 2008, Google and Amazon merged to form Google's On. Google supplies Google Grid, Amazon supplies their personalized recommendations. Google's On is a system that automatically searches all content sources and splices together stories to cater to the interests of an individual user. And it goes on from there, and et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, that's what Joel's talking about.
Yeah, I actually know why I haven't seen it is because it came out in 2004, and that was 2 years before I finally got off of dial-up.
I didn't get high speed until I went to college.
Yeah.
My parents are still on wireless internet. Supposedly, they're getting cable internet within the next 3 weeks. Finally.
My camera
America.
froze again in a less than flattering pose.
Why do you have to keep touching your face, Scanner? If you stop touching your face, you wouldn't still look weird in all the pictures.
I don't know. It's like my
he's
face is
grooming.
beautiful. I just want to touch it. It's like Braille to me. I like to know I'm still gorgeous. All right, I'm going to try this again. Fuck. I don't know what's wrong with my camera today.
All right, we'll wait for Scanner's camera to come back. Then we'll move on to the next news story. Dave, can you try to contact Joel and see what's going on?
I'll give him a few minutes to troubleshoot, and then I'll get a hold of him.
He's been attacked by the ghost of Lycos.
It
Say her name
knows.
3 times, they'll eat your flesh.
Okay, so next news story. Microsoft has announced the Surface Pro 3. It is now a 12-inch tablet. It has a 2160 by 1440 res screen. It has a thinner processor. It's 9.1 millimeters thick, which is pretty much iPad thickness, if you're curious. And it's 800 grams, which for Americans is a pound?
It's under a kilo.
Wait, yeah, under a kilogram.
It's in around 1.5 pounds, 1.62.
Nope, that's too heavy.
Damn.
I'm not sold.
So it has a new kickstand, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to run over that. We're on a tablet podcast. The main part of it is that it has real PC performance in a small form factor that you can actually plug into other monitors and keyboards and stuff like that. So it is $800 for an i3 with 4 gigs of memory and a 64 gig solid state hard drive, $1,000 for an i5, 228 gigs of storage, etc., etc. Welcome back, Joel.
Freaking Comcast.
And then anyway, it goes up to the top end model is an i7 with 512 gigs of space, which is $1,900. If you want a $1,900 tablet, Microsoft will sell you one. All right, Dave, next news story. DayZ finally released a patch. Now,
patch.
it took this long because they just haven't been doing anything, right? They've just been sitting on their butts the whole time.
Well, it took a long time to count that 2 million sales worth of cash. I mean, that's a lot of trucks rolling up to Bohemia. And
Good point.
being behind the Iron Curtain, they actually hadn't seen money before.
You mean being Bohemia, they hadn't actually seen it.
There's actually a really great article about Bohemia's studio history. It's a really sad story. These guys have had a rough road with their history with like Codemasters and all. Like, I'm really surprised that Bohemia was still open in 2012 for Dean Hall to come around.
All you needed was like 12 people to buy their game.
Please, says. Yeah, the patch is out. It's still experimental right now, so there's no official patch notes, but they basically added the framework for everything as far as survival stuff goes. Hunting, fishing, cooking,
Wait, fishing's
campfires. Fishing is in. Yep.
Have you tried it yet?
No, I haven't been able to find the fish hook yet.
And we
You
also
found a
haven't
fishing pole,
found,
though.
Well, you can
You
make a
craft
fishing
it.
pole.
What, you
I
can't
can't
even
wait
find
to
one?
just shoot people who are fishing.
Actually, the first guy who posted a screenshot, it's funny you should say that, Scanner, of a fishing pole. He's like, yeah, I shot this guy with my new AK, and he had a fishing pole on him. He's like, I kind of feel like a jerk now. he's always coming back from camping.
I'm going to name my character Opie.
Oh,
That'd be amazing. That was super loud, Joel. So yeah, tons of mechanics in place. Joel, the fishing is in. but it's still just the framework. Like there's no like visual client side image of the fish yet. Like you just go up to the pond and bring up the option and you like cast and you fish.
Is there
Eventually
actually animation for going like this?
I've heard there is. I haven't seen it myself, so I'm
I've
not
heard
sure.
whispers, rumors.
I heard rumors. But yeah, Dean's already said that they're working on ideas for the client side rendering of fish, kind of like in Age of Empires, where if you kind of watch the lake for a minute, you can like see them jumping, and if there's a whole bunch, you're like, okay, there's a good chance if I fish here, I can get some stuff like that. But he's like, you know, for the initial stages, they need to see how it affects people's gameplay, and just to see if it actually works as far as the functionality goes. Also, 2 brand new towns, tons of new loot. The hunting pistol's in, the gigantic one that uses the 7.62 by 54R Mosin ammo in a hunting pistol.
Nice.
The sound effect for that thing will make your ears bleed. It's amazing.
I need to bring my Carcano for you to shoot. It's got very, very similar ammo to the Mosin ammo. And it is an interesting noise because it's not even that much of a kick. It's more like a giant push. It's like firing a black powder rifle, but it just destroys stuff. It's like I can't imagine shooting a pistol that could take those rounds.
I'm actually a bit offended, Jeremiah. I don't like guns.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm actually
Guns kill people.
I'm actually wearing a 1911 T-shirt. I just realized. There's
Where did you find that in a T-shirt? You're just like in a thrift store. It's probably a thrift store, wasn't it?
No, there was actually a clearance sale on 5.11 Tactical's website. I bought them mainly because they were cheap. It was like $5 each for a T-shirt with free shipping. That's pretty cheap.
It's pretty cheap for a shirt. I don't know if I'd want a 1911 shirt. Just seems like you're just maybe bragging a little too much. Like, guess what I'm into?
Yeah, I got it because it reminded me of those old books when you were a kid, like the cross-section books. It's like a blueprint cross-section.
Oh, okay, it's not just a drawing of a 1911.
No, it's like an illustration of like the cross-section.
Why don't you stand up? Let everyone see. The viewers want to see.
All right.
Stand up. The viewers want to see.
I think I've got a light here.
Put on a show.
Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum.
I don't know if you can even see it, but
Oh, that looks pretty cool.
yeah.
Let's get some orange in it.
Tactical olive drab. It's got like an orange outline to it, yeah.
I would have laughed if he just had said, like, I can't stand up. Why not? I'm not wearing any pants.
That's Joel's job in the podcast. Remember that one, Joel, from the beach trip we were all on? You had like a Grand Theft Auto 5 podcast. But we're all in the basement of the beach house talking about GTA 5 on the Xbox. And the entire time, Joel was laying down on a couch, like just his head popping out from underneath a blanket. And one of the first comments on, I think it was your video, Jeremiah, someone's like, is Joel naked under that blanket?
It was Grand Theft Auto 5 release day. He might as well have been.
Yeah, that's all he did.
Okay.
But yeah,
so Daisy Patch.
Basically, to sum it up, if you guys aren't super into watching the development process, wait for stable because there's some band-aid and stuff like that. It is probably
And
one
the
of
game's crashing now.
That's putting it lightly. Yeah.
There's a memory leak when you go back to the server browser. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually have one last thing to talk about.
I see you typing this note in, and
I
I'm
meant
not
to add
sure.
this
Finishing, Joel.
Sorry. You're finishing, Joel. Thank you, Dave. How nice.
Is that something you guys normally have to yell at each other?
Finishing, Dave.
Take turns.
He just knows. there's no yelling involved. I've heard talk that we haven't played the patch a whole lot. That this is the patch that finally starts getting DayZ like angled towards that survivalist direction versus the Berezino PvP deathmatch. I've seen some streamers that are very, very hopeful about, like, even right now with just the framework of all these elements being in place, that it's already changing the gameplay. So exciting to see. I like being a part of the development process. It'll be fun to go back and look at like videos from January of this year and compare it to what we have once we hit beta. I think it'll be really cool to see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah,
we
you-
should have a fishing contest.
I think Snoov and Jake
we
could be
ought-
in for that for sure.
Yeah, we had to organize the YouTube Pub Stars Daisy fishing tournament.
contest. Yeah, I'll fucking organize it. No problem.
Oh, speaking of the fish, My favorite glitch from this experimental patch so far, I guess it's not really a glitch, it's just an unfinished thing. The fishing is functional, and the first guy who caught a fish, like, put it into his hands in his inventory. But there's no animation for, like, holding fish right now, and for some reason it like defaulted to the primary weapon. So he's got this, like, giant trout, like, up to his shoulder. It's like all shiny and glossy and red. He's like, "Look, guys, I caught a fish." It's like mouth is wide open too. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Once we get an idea of the rate that you can catch a fish, we'll like herd everybody to the same body of water, and all the contestants have to start fishing. And there's a time limit. If you don't catch a fish before this time limit, you get shot in the face. And it's an elimination thing. The last man standing wins.
That sounds like fun, actually.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Ultra Grunt just suggested in chat for our next Play with CSG night should be a fishing tournament. That would actually be a really fun, chill night if the fishing works reliably. Is we can do hunting and fishing. Who wants to go? They have the hunting stands, and we've only ever looted them. We could actually go sit in them now.
Yeah.
Actually sit in them for
Break your
hours
legs trying to get out.
and wait for deer.
The whole idea of the fishing system is
Don't worry, it'll be realistic. So you'll be in there for 4 hours.
bring some beef jerky.
And then you'll go home.
And then you'll go home sad. Oh, it was a great game.
That's a lot of people have
It's
asked me, like,
camaraderie, Joel. It's camaraderie.
Dave, I don't know if people ask you this a lot, but people ask me a lot, like, "Oh, do you hunt?" Because, like, I'm a big gun enthusiast, but I don't know how to explain to people. Like, I like shooting things, and the point of hunting is not to shoot things. It's to play Barbie dress up with all your camouflage and your pickup trucks and your radar and your dogs, and then go sit in the woods and drink for a couple hours. Like, that's hunting. Where at least where I'm from, that's hunting.
My personal
They are very
philosophy
good
for
at
hunting
shooting now.
is, well, what, hunters?
Yeah.
Most
No.
hunters are awful shots, do not know weapon safety, don't take care of their firearms because they use them once or twice a year. Does that cover it, Jeremiah?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's the exact opposite of the truth, Joel. Hunters are terrible firearm owners in most cases.
Really?
A buddy
How
of
come?
mine once described his love of hunting as being necessary to get both him and his gun out of the house so he didn't shoot his wife.
Oh my God.
My thing with hunting is if I ever hunted, I would feel like I'd have to like eat all of whatever I shot. I'm not a huge fan of venison, and it's just me and my wife. We're only two people. Like my
Just make sure
freezer's
you
not-
shoot the Bambi, not the mother. Then that's
I know, so horrible. So horrible. but
It is softer.
Happy Meal size.
The meat.
yeah.
I'd be that guy that's like, yeah, I just shot a whole bunch of this. I'm like, I don't know how to cook this thing. So I'm like, well, enjoy it, Woods. Just a bunch of dead animals everywhere.
Enjoy. All right, Mother Nature, I'm giving this one back.
Circle of life.
No, when I was
Hold on. Were you telling a
I was
hunting
gonna say,
story, or were you about to move on?
when I was in Texas filming this commercial, I think it was like prairie dogs or something like. I don't think it was actually prairie dogs. It might have been something else. But apparently, there's so many of them. There's companies
Boars.
that they. What was it?
It's boars.
Well, that's one of
Wild
them. It was something else. There's another kind of thing. It was almost like little rabbits, like things. Yeah, you told me that one. But yeah, they actually have these crews that fly down in helicopters, land down on the ground. They just murder them all because there's so many, and it like literally is terrible for where they are because they're spawning everywhere.
The boars
But,
in Texas right now are wiping out entire like farms of crops. So you can actually go to Texas and for like $800, you can spend the day flying around on a helicopter with an AR-15 shooting boar because the state of Texas wants you to kill as many as possible.
America. Shooting animals from a
helicopter.
You know, he's got like a big
This
one hand
is the
shoot with
greatest
left hand.
country in the world. I don't care what anyone says.
There's actually a group of guys who have a YouTube channel. There's like 6 of them. They have the most insane night vision, like spec ops gear, like the kind of night vision and infrared vision that you would use like in Afghanistan. And farmers in Texas hire them to spend the entire like week camping on their farms, roving around and killing the wild hogs at night. Like they encircle like the feeding groups and then like ambush them with night vision to try to kill as many as possible before they all split. Like the problem is so bad in Texas.
How many times did they Shoddy Jitter in the crossfire?
It's just, it's what insurance
You
is
stand
for.
on the left side, and I'll stand on the right side.
Who threw the
That's
flashbang?
actually that's the scary thing about hunting is people walking through the woods, through the same woods, theoretically wearing orange and shooting guns supposedly at things with solid backgrounds behind them. But I don't believe for a second that some like local redneck sees an 8-point walking through the woods and is, let's check the backstop. Let's make sure everything. I don't see anyone else. They're probably like, yes, my wall. It's going on the wall.
I mean, Dave, like even that area we go shooting with Dave, like it's kind of like a nice slope, but it goes into a forest. But like that's also still kind of terrifying because bullets just ricochet deep into the woods. I'm like, if I was a kid, I'd be like, oh, these woods, yeah, let's build a fort. Like poor kids just getting nailed back there. Like,
all right, so if this sums up how weird. If this sums up how weird people are about hunting, at least in my area, is at the last job I had, I was just sitting in my office one day. Most everyone else was out at lunch, and my coworker comes tearing back into the building, runs to my office. It's pouring rain outside, by the way. And he's like, do you have your gun with you? And I do. I carry it into work, keep it in my desk. I'm allowed to. Everything's cool with that. I don't publicize that I have it, but he knows. He's like, do you have your gun on you? I said, yes, I have it.
That's never a good question to be asked, by the way. Like, if someone runs up to you and it's
well,
like,
exactly.
do you have your gun? You're like, oh, crap, it's going to be one of those days.
Like, that happens all the time. But he's like, do you have your gun? I said, yes, what happened? He said, okay, not a half mile from here. He said, I was driving, lady, 2 cars in front of me, hit a deer. He's down in the road. He's a goner. He's definitely a goner. And this guy's hunted before, so I'm assuming he knows, I guess. He's like, he's a goner. I don't have a gun with me. I have my pickup. We have to go. I need you to shoot it so we can throw it in the back of the truck so I can get it home. And I was like, right now? He's like, yes. So his plan, just to recap briefly, was this is the main road of the county, by the way. He wants to drive up, stop in the middle of the road, have me hop out, cap this deer in the middle of the day, throw it in the truck,
like a
and
mafia
drive
execution.
off.
In the rain, too?
Yeah, that's not the most ridiculous part. The most ridiculous part is the deer had already been picked up by someone else when we got there.
you left out the best part is when you pulled out your pistol, kind of flipped it, let the clip go in the bottom, and then you tore it out just like wanted. Doosh, doosh, doosh. That's funny.
Hunting. All right, Joel.
This last news story is actually mine that I put in there.
No, Joel added another one.
Oh, come on, Joel.
Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Sound quality, what?
Here, I'm posting the link. It's on Game Informer. If you go to actually 2 minutes and
Add the time code.
2 minutes and 47 seconds, you can actually hear the new sound quality they're doing. It's done by the company who did Dead Space, and they won like a jillion awards for Dead Space 1. They did some really high quality stuff.
Okay, well, right here, if I remember, we will insert some of that sound quality into the podcast right now. Oh, wow, that was amazing. Oh, that was so good, guys. Okay. All right, and if I forgot to do that, you've just seen behind the curtain, and it's really lame. So what's significant about the sound quality?
Sounds actually awesome. It sounds really awesome. You should check out the link if you get a chance.
All right,
Does it sound like Call of Duty?
No, it doesn't. It shows a Modern Warfare 3 gun, and then it goes to, I think it shows off the Spaz 12. I think it's the shotgun, right? Is this Spaz 12? And then he shows off the Spaz 12 and the new one. It sounds awesome. It sounds like Battlefield. That's what it sounds like. So they're going that direction. So that was cool.
Cool.
I learned a random fact about the Battlefield sound design. You know how Bad Company 1 was like the beginning of DICE's like being known for their bombastic sound? They were inspired by Red Orchestra 1, actually. The sound design from that first game, because those mod creators, like, they love their realistic firearms, and they went out and recorded like multiple distances and angles and echoes, and the DICE sound guys heard that mod and then game and said, we want this for Battlefield. That's actually what got DICE started on like the sound kick. Random
Which
fact.
peaked in Bad Company 2 and has been on a downward slope ever since.
Oh.
Okay, so Dave, this last news item has nothing to do with PC gaming. Why is it in here?
It does, actually. This is going to kind of blow Joel's mind. Joel, you heard about these like standalone Star Wars movies that are going to be coming out?
Dave, really? I've been following this since birth. I'm
Joel,
like
that
the
was an
biggest Star Wars nerd.
That was an opportunity for you to just announce it for our viewers. Like, yeah, I've heard about this, and this.
Yeah.
Go.
Star Wars. So they're planning on making spin-off films in between the Star Wars episodes. So 7, 8, 9. But in between those, they're supposed to do kind of like what Marvel's been doing with the Avengers movies, and then a side movie, then the Avengers movie. But Gareth Edwards has just officially been chosen as director, and he just directed Godzilla, and he did a fantastic job. And that's cool. So I don't know we don't know what movie he's going to be doing. I'm curious if Star Wars is going to do the Marvel tease at the end of the movie, or the movie's going to end, and at the end of Episode 7, it's going to be a desert shot, and Boba Fett comes crawling out, and it's like, oh, I'm back, and shoots like at the camera or something, and then you go, oh, the next one's going to be a Boba Fett film. I'm curious to know what they're going to do, or if it's just going to be like just wait until 2016 to find out what the story is going to be about, or if they're all going to kind of tie in together. So that's all. That's cool. Star Wars news.
Thank you, nerd.
Time code. I'm not seeing time codes popping up in my Google Doc
I was
here.
talking.
Yeah, this is
No
Star
excuse.
Wars, Jeremiah. This is Joel's area here, and our tie-in for PC gaming. Do you guys recognize the author of the screenplay for the first standalone film right there, Gary Whitta?
Yeah.
Gary Whitta's writing
The longtime
first...
editor of PC Gamer, former editor of PC Gamer, is writing the entire screenplay for the first standalone Star Wars film. Like how
He wrote the Book of Eli.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
He also, I think, he helped it with. I thought I heard the Walking Dead video game, the one.
Yeah, I think he did.
And when
He
I
did.
initially saw it, I was like, "Walking? Oh, you mean that crappy FPS one?" I was like, "Oh, that one." I forgot it. I was like, "Wait a second, that's not a story one."
So what you're saying,
it's
Jeremy,
Telltale
is that the
one, I
Book of Eli is this guy's fault.
You didn't like the Book of Eli, I'm guessing?
I did not.
Oh,
Who puts a great actor in a shitty movie? That's all I want to ask.
I thought it was a pretty enjoyable movie.
Yeah, until the
I've
end.
only I've seen
Joel,
it
can you handle
once,
this question for me?
like I've seen it once like 5 years ago. I'm not gonna get on a box
Were
and
you
defend
drunk?
it too much. No.
You should have
I
been.
ju-
no.
I
I
don't know.
Why
I watched
did you hate
it and I thought it
I'm
was
really
cool.
curious. Why did you hate it?
I don't want to spoiler it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but that
Oh, it's
that-
old enough.
That
It's old
ending
enough.
made
Go
me
for
want to
it.
punch somebody in the throat.
What
Did you just see it coming the whole time, or
That was from the
just not-
book, though.
No, it
wasn't
was just garbage.
Wasn't
like,
it
there,
based off of a book.
there's no
So as a
There's
movie,
no-
if that ending was different, would have you liked the whole movie?
It felt
So
too.
it was a decent movie. You just did not like the ending. So that's a little bit different
Yeah.
than complete hating the whole movie.
It was an okay movie, but it was the ending that was just like, why? Why would you do this? Why was this even remotely necessary? Who felt this was a good idea? How am I supposed to watch this
Gary
and
Whitta,
not
apparently.
just realize, oh wait, look, Uncanny Valley, I'm watching a shitty ending movie. It was annoying. Like, it irked me.
I don't know if I want to show you Norman Scanner.
Hey, look, have you ever seen Primer?
Yes,
No.
I have.
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, Primer is one of the best examples of what genuine ability to write a script does when there's no budget to actually make a movie.
Oh yeah, it's phenomenal.
Because those guys had no budget, but they had one of the best scripts I've ever seen.
That's what I've heard.
Like this script is everything. There's one line in that movie that's so fucking smart. I actually got jealous when I first watched the movie and I realized that somebody else had written this and I never would. I got terribly jealous.
I need to put that on my short list then. I've heard about Primer numerous times. I've just never gotten around to watching it.
Yeah,
Might
I
be on
love a
Netflix,
good
sure.
script. Like that's
Yeah, a good script makes a huge difference. There are way too many high budget movies with just
with
crappy
terrible
writing.
scripts are you know when something has been produced, like it's got a director, but you know when that director was feeling pressure for certain elements and certain expositions and things like that.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Captain Phillips?
No.
The first decent movie, but the first 10 minutes of that movie has some of the worst writing I've ever seen in a big budget movie. Like it pulled me completely out of the movie and it was cringy. It was Tom Hanks, which made it even worse. Was like a legitimately good actor was saying some of just the worst lines. And then the movie kind of evened out and was more normal. So I'm not really sure.
Have you
and
seen
it was
Under
actually,
the
it was good by
Dome?
the end. No.
Okay, the guy from Breaking Bad, what was it, the uncle, right? Or no, what's his name?
Yeah,
I can't think of Hank. There we go, Hank.
Okay.
He's in Under the Dome. I love the book. It's a Stephen King book. I'm like, dude, this guy is the worst crappy actor I've ever seen. Like, he's awful in it. Like, absolutely awful. I couldn't even watch after 2 episodes. But I'm like, dude, like, it really comes down to writing. Like, if you don't have good, like, no matter how good you can act, you can't say crappy lines. Maybe Robert Downey Jr. could pull it off. But I think he's the
no one
only
knew
one on
Matthew
the planet.
McConaughey. No one knew Matthew McConaughey was a good actor until people stopped giving him surfer dude roles.
I know.
Someone gave him an actual real role.
Are you
and
watching
he
that
knocked it
show?
out of the park.
Are you watching it now? True
What show?
Detective.
Oh no! I was talking about the Lincoln Lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Never mind the Lincoln Lawyer. Watch True Detective or Dallas Buyers Club, or even go back to Time to Kill, when the man could clearly act like incredibly well, and then for some reason just didn't, and that reason was money, because you make a lot of money doing bad movies.
You do.
You know, rom-coms and stuff like this, and.
Fortunately for him, not many people make the transition back. He did a bunch of stupid movies, and now he's firmly swung back over into serious actor territory, and people respect him again.
All I can say is True Detective Season 3, one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in any show.
Episode 3?
Sorry, Episode 3. The most intense scene, long shot, any movie, any TV show.
Better than
ever.
the 1 minute ending in Breaking Bad?
No, I mean that was that because it was at the very end of a season, but like one section
No, 1 minute. 1 minute. It was a mid-episode or mid-season arc. You remember which one I'm talking about? When the two spoilers for Breaking Bad. When the two twins attack Hank in the parking lot.
No.
Sorry, Yoshi.
Way
I can't.
no. Way better than that. Way better than that.
Really? Because that was like my high water moment.
It's
for
because
television.
you just don't expect it, and it's just like something turns to badass, and the long shot, you're just like on the edge of your seat going, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's intense.
Mark has corrected you in chat and says it's episode 4, and Mark is probably correct about this when it comes to television.
Oh, yeah, it might be.
And then for
right.
Breaking Bad, he's saying episode 7, season 3, and he's probably correct about that too.
Yeah, it has to do with the neighborhood, and you're just like, holy freaking crap.
All right, well, we should eventually. That's the news, believe it or not. Now the first hour of the podcast is out of the way.
Let's talk about hunting again.
Our main topic this evening, you may be wondering why we brought Scanner Barkley on tonight. Not just because he's a cool dude.
And the beard. Actually, I invited him for the beard. I missed it.
Whose train is that in the background? Yoshi, is that you?
No. Even the window. Oh, yeah, the train's across the street. Sorry.
Okay. All right, so.
He's on a train right now.
Why are you apologizing for the train?
They come all the time at night, though, so it's more often this time. I didn't think you guys would be able to hear it.
Surprise train. I'm like, oh gosh.
You're using an Astro mic. We can hear everything
Very
that's going on. Including your distorted, over-peaking voice. Astros. The best that people can buy if they don't know what else is out there.
Or if EA gives them to you. Worker.
Main topic. We got this.
Main topic. All right, we called Scanner Barkley in here tonight because he's actually... All right, we've been joking around a lot, but this is actually something serious and I think legitimately very interesting and something I'm very interested in and I think is really important. Scanner Barkley has started something called the Anxious Gamers, which is very important to him. I'm not going to say too much about it because Scanner, you'll probably do a much better job than I would, but share as little or as much as you want to. Kind of the floor is yours here. I hope I'm not putting you too much on the spot, but what is the Anxious Gamers? Why are you doing it? And why should people care?
The Anxious Gamers is going to be like a community hub for people who play games and who just happen to suffer from things like anxiety and depression and agoraphobia and whatever falls into the too wide umbrella term of mental health issues. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm starting it up is because about 3 years ago, I started having like panic attacks and shit. And
oh man.
I initially just like wrote them off because I had one in a buddy's house and I just kind of wrote it off as being a weird fucking thing to happen. But I was fine, you know, the next day I was grand. And then after about a month I had another one. I'm like, oh look, that's 2. That's really weird. And then a couple of weeks later I had another one. I was like, oh, that's 3. That's kind of shit. And then I started having them daily and then I started having them twice and 3 times daily. And I wasn't able to work. Just my health deteriorated in a major way as the amount of like stress that you will be under when you're going through this is insane, and you eventually have enough like cortisol, which is a stress hormone, in your system to actually basically set off whatever like has ever been wrong with you or ever will be wrong with you will go wrong with you physically when you're going through this stuff, just from all the cortisol. You've got no immune system, you've got no anything on your side. You're going to get very, very sick. So I was in a shitty place. got super depressed. And not in like a, like, oh, I'm depressed, right? But in a, I actually want to fucking kill myself daily sense, which is where I was as a headspace, and just kept having anxiety attacks, and just everything was going to shit. And one day, my then girlfriend, now fiance, who obviously has the patience of a saint to put up with all this shit, she arrives home from work and she's got a headset, because I had been like big into gaming, but I gave up on multiplayer after Unreal. Like, I knew that what I had done in Unreal and where my skill set was, and the sheer fucking anger and heartache that game had caused me, like falling out with people and stuff, because I really wanted to, like, be the best at Unreal. I walked away from multiplayer gaming. I'm like, right, I can't do this. I'm too competitive. I get too obsessed. I hadn't multiplayer gamed since fucking Unreal back in my college days, so maybe a decade, maybe more. And she comes home with a headset, so I can like play games and I can talk to my buddy that I hadn't been able to talk to for a year, because I couldn't stand to have anybody around me or anybody look at me or anybody near me, let alone talk to me. I didn't speak to my family for a year, or anyone. The only person I spoke to for a year was my fiance, and then sometimes I'd go 2 or 3 days without being able to say a word to her. And she was just looking for anything that would connect me to people again. So she brings home a headset for my PS3, and I start playing with my buddy, and I don't say anything for days. I'm just sat at the other end of this line, just saying nothing, and like he's just chatting away as if I'm chatting to him, just acting completely normal. And we're playing what were we playing? Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, and then we started playing like Bad Company 2, because all his buddies were still deep into that, and I started to make friends, and I started to talk to people, and I started to come out of my shell, which was a pretty amazing thing. So it made me understand that there is a place and there is an importance for multiplayer gaming beyond the idea of simply entertaining ourselves. If you're struggling the way I was struggling, I didn't know what to say to people. Like, I had to set up simple ground rules when I first started talking to people. I needed them to know that I could get severely anxious and uncomfortable if groups got too big. And then the second you need to explain anything, you feel like an idiot. It's like, I can't even have a fucking conversation on the internet, and people are going to judge me and people are going to make fun of me, and you just end up saying nothing at all. So what I want to do is create a space where the assumption is that you want to talk, you want to be social, you want to hang out, you want to be in a good mood and all the rest of it, but you just might not be. And everybody will know that, and everybody will not fucking make your life difficult by asking you to explain shit. You can come into the Teamspeak and you can sit there for a month saying nothing until you feel like you're capable of saying something. And the best thing is, you don't have to say anything important. You can sit there and you can go, Super Mario Brothers was the best game I ever played. And somebody in that TeamSpeak is going to go, fucking right it is, and this is why. And you're going to have a human conversation that makes you feel normal, even if it's only for 30 seconds. Because grasping that initial feeling of normality is the first step towards getting back to yourself. So that's why I want to set it up. I think it's got value to people who maybe right now they're sat there thinking that they're a little bit trapped and a little bit alone, and there's no reason in the world for them to actually think that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, man.
So that's the plan.
Yeah, that's the sucky thing about depression. Like, depression lies. I forget who I heard say that the first time, but it's totally true. It makes you feel like, no one cares, you're all alone. And you understand that you shouldn't necessarily feel that way, but at the same time, you absolutely do feel it, and you can't make yourself feel different. And I think it's something that is still, of course, mental health is not something that's properly handled. I don't know about in Ireland, but in America, it still has a very negative stigma associated with it.
Awful.
And it's horrible. And the bad thing about it is, like, the general public doesn't seem to understand. You can become temporarily depressed because really bad stuff happens, and that's one thing. But long-lasting anxiety or depression stuff, it's chemical imbalances. It's things that are physically wrong with you, like a health problem that no one else would judge you for. Like people wouldn't judge you if you had an organ failing.
Yeah.
Because that, unless it's the result of something you did to yourself, people will judge you if you drink until your liver pickles, or you smoke until your lungs give out in your 30s or something. Like people can be a little judgmental for stuff like that. But if something just fails on you, people are very accepting of that. But mental health is really, it's in the similar vein, but people don't respect it or treat it in the same way, which is why you hear stupid, ignorant things like, "Oh, we'll snap out of it," or "You just need to be happier," or "Think yourself positive." Like it's not that easy.
How about I kill you and that will make me happy? Let's do that. Okay, and then afterwards I'll just get off for being mentally ill. I'll just say I was temporarily insane. It'll be great. Yeah, it's all in my court.
I think this is an awesome idea because also, video games are an escape for a lot of people, or online can be an escape for a lot of people because you don't physically have to go places, but you can experience a lot of new things that, like before the internet, the only way to experience things outside your house without leaving your house would be like the radio or books. I mean, it was a lot more limited as far as your immediate interaction with people, but with the internet, you have this amazing potential to connect with people all around the world. I mean, take this for example. There's a very good chance I would never meet you in real life, Scanner.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that we live, halfway across the world from each other. Our paths would probably never cross.
Unless I hit a deer while I was on my holidays or something. It's like, gone.
But, because of something as cool as the internet, we have now been able to connect and talk to each other. And I think you're a real cool dude. And like stuff like that, it can be amazing for people who maybe don't feel comfortable going out and meeting a ton of people or sharing their life with other people or just being around people. I mean, I get that. It's a big deal.
That's because you don't have friends, but that's just another story.
Thanks for your input, Joel.
Personally, I could live with anxiety and I could live with depression. This struggle is the end result of both of those is actually agoraphobia. Mm-hmm. And I'd say it's been over a year since I stepped foot outside property that I owned. Like, I own my house and I own my yard and that's it. That's where I go. I don't go anywhere else because I can't control anywhere else. And that's what kind of freaks me out. When you try and go outside, you're like, what if I have a panic attack? What if I just start randomly crying when I'm down in the shop for no fucking reason because anybody who's dealing with depression is going to understand that. And it's the judgment that is the terrifying aspect. And that's what eventually kind of bottles you up with agoraphobia. It's a lack of control and too much judgment. So being able to cross a sandy desert in a tank and shoot some fucking prick, that is actually pretty awesome when you're agoraphobic, beyond the realms of normally being awesome just because it's a game. So there's a lot of benefits to gaming from a social aspect and an immersion aspect, and there's a lot of good games out there that can make you kind of think about shit pretty deeply, because the emotional labyrinth of mental health issues, I don't think that's something that people who suffer from them should try and avoid. You can't, you'll be scared of dealing with what it is that's actually wrong with you and its causes, but you got to face up to it someday. And the little nuanced storytelling of games or movies or books or comics, anything that gets you thinking about maybe a slightly unexpectedly personal subject, it's all got benefits to people. So that's what I'm trying to do. And there's even games out there that deal directly with mental health concepts, like Actual Sunshine and Depression Quest and stuff like that. So there's plenty of people in the gaming and gaming community and developing and YouTube. The amount of people I've met through YouTube, or the amount of people who have messaged me, because I'm very vocal about things, where I am and who I am and what I deal with, that hundreds of fucking people have messaged me going, dude, I was so happy when I saw your video because it all made so much sense to me. That was the catalyst to set it up. It's okay, there's a shit ton of people dealing with this, so maybe we can get something going.
That's awesome. I mean, don't understand it completely. Like I don't have that. But for me, I know a little problem is like I have a hard time doing small talk with people. Like it's the biggest thing I hate. Like I hate when people do small talk with me. I have no idea how to answer stuff when it's just like the simple like, so how's your work and how's the job? I'd rather just go a deep conversation or just talk like I hate just the bullshit talk. Like I like just like tell if you like it, tell me. If you don't, just don't say, oh, it's okay. Just tell me you hate it. It's fine. I can take it. And so for me, I have a hard time when just people are just, like, so when I shoot a lot of weddings, I like when I can blend in and no one notices me when I'm there. I don't like talking to people in my weddings. Like the best wedding days when no one sees me and I can just do my job and get out. Because it's like, I don't like, it's always the same thing. Photographers or people come and talk and be like, so what camera are you using? And I'm like, I don't want to talk. I don't care. So many times I said, oh, I use Super VHS. I tell them all the time. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, it's kind of old school, but I really like it. Just because I don't want to have to go through the whole specs again. Like, I don't care. They're not going to see me again. They don't really care. They just feel like they have to say something. And I like when someone actually asks like a real question. So anytime people are like, hey man, how you doing? And I like feel crap, I'm like, dude, I hate today. It's a horrible day. And they're like, oh, that's great, man. Good to see you. Let's just walk outside. Because I know they're going to do that. Because, I'm like, all they're expecting is me to just be like, oh yeah, good day. See you, man. But I actually say, no, I'm feeling like shit. Thanks.
Yeah, I do about the same thing that you do with that, Joel, but I also have problems wording things. If you guys haven't noticed yet, I'm very
Same
bad
here.
at explaining stuff. So, yeah, that's why I really struggled on really deciding whether or not to go with the YouTube channel, because I don't know what to say. Like when I'm recording and I'm at the end of my video, I know what to say, but I don't know how I should say it. So I just overthink it, and it just ruins it for me. So I just try to keep my mouth shut half the time.
So Yoshi, I'm you, but I just say it. It doesn't have, I just blurt it
It doesn't
out.
have to make sense.
Still has no actual
anyway.
I know. I don't spell check before I just go, bleh. There you go, guys.
Skinner, you mentioned Teamspeak and a hub. What exactly is that?
Well, there's a website called theanxiousgamers.com, which is it's a website right now, but most of the like true nature of it is currently under construction, I guess, which houses articles written by currently myself on depression and dealing with it and its effects and gaming, like just actual gaming stuff, not news and shit, because I couldn't possibly keep that up to date. I've got 2 YouTube channels as well, and I gotta build this freaking site. But just whenever I read, like, one of the articles I'm working on right now is a perfect example. Actually, I'm doing an article called "Why the Dark Souls series is gaming's greatest exploration of the nature of depression." Because
That
whether
sounds really interesting.
whether they wanted it or whether it was inspired by it, it actually is, like, and it cannot be denied. So I'm doing an article about that specifically, and I'm thinking people will get a good understanding because it takes simple in-game mechanics and restrictions that game forces upon the player, and I will equate those to the actual restrictions that somebody who's dealing with like anxiety or depression might feel. Like the difference between when you're human and when you're hollow, and simple stuff like that will all be very good. And there'll be a Teamspeak up. It should be live. I was hoping to have it live on Monday, but then that just didn't happen. So that'll be live probably at the end of the week that people can hang out in. And if more funding comes my way, I'll set up some gaming servers and stuff like that. Just little like cooperative things that people can do. Like, I'm not setting up a Battlefield freaking server or anything like that. I'll be setting up some kind of weird kind of creativity based game that people can do like joint ventures and projects, because it will give them that reason. Like when they wake up that day and the day is looking shit, then they know at 2 p.m. their buddies are going to log on and they're going to work on whatever their project is. That can only be a good thing. And eventually what I might do, because like creativity can be an interesting beast that for many people who mightn't have had a creative bone in their body, when they're suddenly dealing with like their own mental health issues, they find this never-ending need to express it all of a sudden, like this burning desire to actually express how they feel will just come upon them, and they'll have no idea how to do that. So I might look into some stuff like getting Unreal licenses for people so that they can create and things like this. I've actually been in contact with an awful lot of, especially indie developers, are very open to the concept of doing like little seminars on kind of game design and development and stuff like that on the internet via the Teamspeak and Twitch. Selling me batches, like I've had a load of people offer this, which was weird, like selling me batches of game codes stupidly cheap, which I can then pass on to members of the community and things like this. So there's all kinds of stuff that I want to do to improve people's situation a little bit, because it can be trying financially as well to deal with this shit. And you've got your meds, and you might have your therapy, and you might not be able to work, and you're kind of fucked. So maybe a free copy of this weird game that we're all going to play for the next month might just cheer you up a little. All kinds of good stuff in the works.
That's awesome.
And so you're funding this through Patreon, which anyone who listens to this podcast is already familiar with, because we've been begging you for money for 2 weeks now. Where are you at, and what are people funding? Like, what's your next Patreon goal that people can help fund towards?
My next Patreon goal is, now you've got me saying Patreon when I call it Patreon, so fuck you. My next Patreon goal, right, the way it's said, is $100 a month, and that will cover stuff like the site hosting year round, which I actually got for a song this year, which was great. When I first wanted to set it up, I'm like, do I even have the spare $100 for the hosting? And then I actually got the hosting for $10, so I was delighted. And the hosting for the site, the actual TS itself, and multiple game servers and stuff. And I'm up to I'm close to $70 a month now. But
Great, man.
Personally, I don't sweat the money side of things right now. It's not a primary concern for me. The Patreon is really just there right now as something I had to do, so I got it out of the way. I had to do it. I had to suddenly ask people for money, which I'm never comfortable doing ever. So I just bit the bullet on it and just got it done. I'll worry about it more when the site is functional and it actually exists. I can get the TS now. That's completely covered. And that's all I wanted to start. The actual thing itself. I wanted to have the TS there so people could talk. We can use public servers. It's not ideal, but we can play whatever game we want, and we can use public servers. It's absolutely fine. So I don't really worry so much about trying to generate funding right now. I'm more just trying to get the actual work done. That's the key issue. Getting the site hammered down and the forums up and running. A body of writers, because it's difficult to, I'm a good writer. I know I'm a good writer, but it's difficult to write specifically for something. And it gets heavy, dude. It gets so fucking heavy writing about my own experiences and stuff like that. Because it makes you think about everything again, and the risk of once again ending up in a downward loop when you're thinking about how shit your life is all of a sudden. That sucks. So you don't want to do that too often. I had the dumbest fucking idea ever, was that for launch week for the website, I would have 5 very, very personal articles that would go up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of launch week. It would be this big, heavy, hard-hitting week, and I had to write all those articles, and I did it all in the course of 2.5 days. I wrote about 30,000 words in 2.5 days, and I nearly melted my brain from trying to write, and I nearly depressed myself just from thinking about all this shit again. But the fact that it could help anybody, even one person, I don't give a shit what it costs or what it takes or how awkward I feel doing it. If I can make one person, if I can improve the quality of their life even a little bit, that has to be worth it.
That's awesome.
It is, and I think you will be successful because you care a lot about it, and like you said, you've gotten a lot of people who are very interested in it. But I sincerely hope you are.
Thanks.
And if people want to follow this, any of our listeners who may suffer from some of these things, or maybe just want to see what they can do to help, Patreon, go check it out there. We'll have links, of course, in the show notes and everything. We've put it in Twitch chat a few times. But then also, the best place to follow you for updates would probably be Twitter, I'm guessing?
Yeah, just
Okay.
that's my.
Is there an Anxious Gamers Twitter, or is it just your gaming
right
Twitter
now?
right now?
It's just me. I don't want to do an Anxious
Okay.
Gamers thing because I don't want to split it, because it's like beta testing now. Even the writing style of the articles is, it could be a lot of things. I want to present it in a very specific fashion where it's not clinical and it's not too personal. It's like this mix of both, because a blog helps nobody. When it comes to this kind of thing, like, reading, oh, today is such a bad day, my depression really sucks. That doesn't fucking help. It's like, yeah, well done, buddy, so does mine. Why am I reading your depressing fucking blog then? You know what I mean? You gotta, I like to approach the whole thing with humor, for the most part, because if you can't, like, you better learn to laugh at this shit pretty quick, or this shit will own you. In a horrible sense. And I say that as somebody who couldn't laugh at it for a year and realized that it owned every essence of me. Like, every fiber of my being was suddenly being defined by the fact that I knew that I was sick, and I had to change that pretty fucking rapid, or nothing was going to get back to normal ever. And life's not normal now, but it's close. Close enough to, have, like, vast majority of my days are fine.
We're here for you, man. Casual Shenanigans can be the highlight of your day.
I always like,
That's probably overselling us a little bit.
I always like actually coming on Casual Shenanigans because it's good fun. I can just like be myself. I don't always feel that on certain other internet projects and stuff. Catmelogia, my own podcast, and Casual Shenanigans, though, they feel like this exact same thing to me. We're just like talking shit about games.
Oh yeah.
That's our goal. Is we don't try to structure this too much or anything, because that's what gaming is for us. Like, it's a lot of things for a lot of different people. For us, it's hanging out. That's what gaming is getting to hang out together.
Just broke time.
So in a similar thing, like with the Anxious Gamers, the point is not really the games, but the games are a catalyst for something a lot better than just entertainment.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to do with the podcast too. You shouldn't take any of this too seriously.
Hey, no matter how bad you feel or how stupid you feel someday, just get on and be like, hey, I am not as stupid as Joel.
or as short as Joel, or at least my facial hair is better than Joel's.
You don't own as many consoles as Joel does.
I think I've actually got 4 consoles. Oh no, that's a lie. I've got 3.
Oh, that's a little better.
So, yeah, but I've also got like a nut crunchingly beast PC, which is on like the one thing left to go in it is the 780 Ti. It's the only thing I didn't buy that I knew I wanted in it when I started, because when I first built the PC, we just like bought a house and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we just bought a house. I should probably take like this $800 that I want to spend on a fucking GPU and save it just in case anything untoward arises with the house. Because when you don't have an income, you gotta be smart about shit.
That's true. Not having an income does make buying things harder.
And when you own your house, when you own your house, whatever goes wrong is your responsibility. It's all you.
The 800 series is dropping soon, and the 780 Ti's are going to take a price drop, and I'm going to pick one up and just laugh hysterically when I put it in my computer and lightning strikes the ground behind me at God's own fury that I have a better PC than him. It's going to
Well, Mark, who's Frenchy Libre in chat, he has a 780 Ti and a 4670K, and we were overclocking his computer yesterday, and we ran some benchmarks, and he's been running through today, and it is just insane how fast that thing is. Yeah. Like, it's just on a level where, like, it does at this point, it doesn't even make sense.
Jeremiah,
like, why would
share the numbers?
Okay,
drop the numbers. So just get it in there.
Scanner, I don't know if you're familiar with 4670Ks, how well they overclock.
Yeah.
They don't overclock quite as well as the 3570K, but clock for clock, they're a little bit faster, so it evens out pretty well. Okay, his is stable at 4.8.
Ooh.
Stable.
Mine?
No, Mark.
Oh, Mark's.
You're not Mark. You don't have a 4670K
I was reading chat
either.
for a second, then I came back to your conversation.
Joel heard computer part numbers and just instantly his eyes glazed over.
His computer booted at 5 gigahertz, but locked up pretty soon. But that was on barely any voltage adjustments. I bet if we cooked the voltage a little bit, we could get that thing stable at 5.
It'll
It'd be
die
warm,
within 2 years.
but it was under its TJ Maxx. It was hitting like mid to high 80s on 100% prime burn. So I mean that's not that crazy. But yeah, man, the 780 Ti, I got an R9 290, which is supposed to be pretty close. I got it because it's probably an old Litecoin card, and it hit Amazon for dirt cheap with a good cooler, so I snapped it up. And the performance is equal to my dual 7950s, so that's a pretty impressive card. But the 780 Ti, like in some things it's close, and in the others it just runs away.
Nice.
It's just crazy.
I just want to future-proof. That was the entire theory behind my build, was future-proof, because people like Joel bitch and moan all the time about having to upgrade your stuff, but if you just put enough money into your PC, you never have to upgrade anything. Developers have to upgrade their stuff just to bother your PC with something.
Well, I've only upgraded my computer. I haven't upgraded since.
Yeah, to his credit, he ran a really old system for a long time, and then he finally upgraded to a good modest build, a 3770K and a GTX 770. So not a slouch.
Yeah, he's got a
by any stretch of
770.
the imagination.
There's no...
Yeah, pretty beefy
Wait,
computer.
now you're calling a slouch. When I first, you guys said this was like
I said not a
insane.
slouch.
No,
I said
earlier.
not a
You said
slouch.
it's modest. Well, because I said I would go for whatever
Modest
it took.
compared to a 780. Yeah, modest compared to like a $3,000 computer.
Oh,
but no,
okay. I was gonna say, I was like, holy crap. I was like, is it already
No.
outdated? I was like,
No, not at all.
I
Not at all.
bought 2 Xbox Ones.
No,
These are
Joel, your
foot
computer is
soles.
still great. I mean, you know it's great. You play games on it. Your computer's still awesome.
You're great.
But Scanner's okay. Scanner's talking about the tier where
Yeah.
the amount of performance you get is not commiserate to the amount of money you put into it.
How much
in
is your computer worth, Scanner? Do you mind if I?
In total, probably about 3.5.
Whoa.
And then like it would have been.
How
about
much is that?
1,000.
How much is that hard drives? I'm just curious if it's mostly computer based, not just hard drive stuff.
It would like. I believe the CPU I have goes for about $1,000 in this state.
Whoa.
But that just made sense.
Dave's peeing his pants right now.
That just made sense
Sure.
for me to do because I like to produce music, and I get very complex on the like VST side of things. Like I could have like 100 different instruments open, and each of those instruments could have 4, 5, 6 different effects on each one. So I'm looking at maybe 600 things doing stuff, and it can really like bog down a system. So I needed something with beef, and then I want to get into like rendering and game dev and all kinds of random shit. So I thought, fuck it, just go ham, just spend all the money that you should spend on your house, spend on a PC. And then my fiance was like, nah, we're going to buy a house. And I'm like, okay, but whatever's left over, I'm spending on a fucking PC. I mean, actually got her a really solid PC as well. We just went ape shit. Like, we were like, well, if we're going to spend money, we'll just fucking spend it. Like, go nuts.
You've got a little American in you after all.
All I had bought for like 2 years was medicine, basically. And I'm like, right, fuck this. It's time.
You got the best medicine you need right here. It's called GPU horsepower.
It's called physics, yo.
Let those CUDA cores lift your spirits.
But yeah, it was good. So I can't wait to get to 780 Ti, and then I'm good. I'm good to go on
So
whatever.
you're the only one in the entire world that can play Daisy at 30 frames per second locked.
Yeah.
But not in cities.
Yeah, no. We're not crazy.
Crazy.
It's like,
All right.
you gotta love that Daisy engine though, and the ARM engine. You really gotta dance around that thing to get your frames going. So weird.
It's PC to the core, for good or for not good a lot of the time. All right, so now we're at the part of the podcast. Well, this is actually going to turn out to be a pretty long one. We are now coming up on 90 Seconds with Joel, a part of the podcast where really Joel does whatever he wants for however much time he wants to spend doing things, and we have no control. So Joel, it's now type in the time code, and then it's over to you. You're forgetting these time
No,
codes.
I'm not.
Our page.
I forgot the.
I saw your eyes.
forgot the one. No, I was getting ready to do it. I forget I have my phone here with. It's not exposing well, but I have the clock timer. I'm watching it.
All right. I apologize.
I'll be around a little bit.
All right.
I'm the one actually
All right,
working during this podcast.
Whoa! All right, 90 seconds with Joel.
Okay, it's game
They're
time.
ticking.
All right, Dave, did you get the message I sent you a little bit earlier?
I did, and like most of your game suggestions, I am completely lost.
Wait, how is that not clear? It's just basically explaining what I just said in there. Is that going to be hard for you to explain?
So
Don't tell what it is though.
Let me copy it to a second window because it's long.
Shouldn't be too hard. Anyways, I sent Dave a little message. He's going to have to explain to the audience who is listening his little story, and he's not allowed to kind of explain using a few terms that I said he's not allowed to explain. So Dave, can you mute? And I'm going to tell the audience what.
Take your headphones off.
This is going to be like a thing every week now, isn't it?
No, this has been I did this like 4 weeks
Now,
ago.
you haven't told me which words I can't use yet. Is that after you explain it to everybody else?
No, I'm sorry. You just do exactly what I said to you. There's nothing else I need to tell you.
Okay, so I'm actually going to turn my Astros just off. So, like, wave on the camera and I'll turn them back on.
All right.
Can you hear us, Dave? Can you hear us? Okay. So what I told Dave is he's going to be explaining. We are both in Boy Scouts, and we both went to the same summer camp. So I asked him to talk about his experience at Boy Scout camp and just like what was camp life? How did he choose his tent mate? Like when you're at Boy Scout camp, everyone's like, oh, let's tent together or whatever. So I asked him to explain that, and then what does he do before he goes to bed? Like what's his ritual? But instead of like the last time I did it, there's no alternative motive. I am just curious if Dave is going to twist his story around. I'm actually asking him to tell a real story, but I'm curious if he's going to twist it around because he thinks I have an alternative motive. But this time I don't. So we'll see. It just may be stupid. He may just tell us a story about Boy Scouts. But we'll see. I'm just curious to know if he's going to make it creepy. So, Dave, come on back. And no one write in the Twitch stream.
All right. So, Dave,
Commander
don't
ground
watch
control.
the Twitch stream.
Yeah, don't watch the Twitch stream.
Don't watch the Twitch
Okay.
stream, and don't use any proper nouns, if that makes it easier. Don't use names of things.
Okay.
All right. So, whenever you're ready.
All right. So I was in Scouts. How I chose my sleep mate. I had a good friend who we were always hanging out together. Any kind of camp outs or hikes, we were always chilling. We were both super huge nerds. Always just kind of clicked. So when it came time for summer camp, it was basically a given that we just shared a tent. We did have one unexpected visitor one night, actually, one year. There was an incident with Fun Dip, actually. There was a Fun Dip control situation. So we hid our senior patrol leader under one of our bunks all night because he was being hunted by packs of sugar-starved kids. And it was actually looking like it was going to get kind of violent. The adults stepped in and seized all the Fun Dip, actually. But yeah, so it was usually just the two of us, though. But for a while, we had a third bunkmate. What I would do
what happened to the third bunkmate?
He literally slept underneath the bunk like all night long, and we like watched for him.
That's creepy.
At one point,
Under whose bunk?
my bunkmate's bunk. For some reason, I'm not sure why I didn't offer
looking at
mine.
your bunkmate, and then down below, and he's like, hey.
he had a sleeping bag, and we actually draped the covers over my bunkmate's bed so that like it covered him up. And I remember it was like about 12:30 in the morning. A roving group went by searching for him because he wasn't in his tent. They were I don't know what they were gonna do to him. Honestly, they were looking for him. But okay, what I did before camp or what I did before sleep. Of course,
Here's where it gets good, guys.
there was the horrible latrines, not actual toilets. So that was a pre-bedtime routine. You gotta brush your teeth thoroughly. Gotta keep those pearly whites clean. Gosh, there was the snake check. Always gotta check the check the sheets for snakes. We had a couple of times we had snakes in tents. Gotta watch out for the snakes in tents.
We'll let those snakes out of the tent.
I'm trying to follow my instructions here. I was one of those people that was like not really prepare for bed. Like I would, brush my teeth, but I'd be like hanging out at the campfire up until the last minute, and then it was like when everyone else was finally basically asleep, you like go to the tent, just get changed real quick, and just dive into the covers to sweat your way through the night.
What do you mean you weren't prepared? That just sounds like, oh gosh, night's coming.
There was no like, let's get the sleeping bag ready. Let's like get some clothes ready for tomorrow. It's like, no, let's be procrastinating and just sit next to the campfire until 2 o'clock in the morning.
So nowadays, stay on the computer in DayZ by the campfire until 4 a.m.
Oh, you know me so well, Joel.
All right, Dave.
Did I cover it?
No, you did fine. I told everyone else there was absolutely no alternative motive. I just wanted to see if you were going to change the story up to sound more creepy. If you thought I had a creepy alternative motive, but there wasn't. And you ended up just telling a fairly decent story, so I commend you for that. So failure on me, congratulations on you, Dave.
Actually,
but my favorite is like, I'm not prepared for night. Oh,
Yeah, the unexpected visitors thing I thought was
I
pretty.
was like, where's this going? This
And
guy's
then checking for
unexpected
snakes.
visitors, middle of the night, the third guy in the tent.
Fun dip.
Not the Scoutmaster.
That's what they
News
call it.
stories that had happier endings.
That's
than
what they
this.
used to call it. Was fun dip.
Actually, I do
And
have
these
one.
kids roaming around trying to find some weird, sick freak of a guy who'd been like sneaking up on him and stuff. That's what they wanted him for.
There was a fist fight over Fun Dip that year. Like it was pretty messed up. There was one kid who bought an entire box of Fun Dip. There was a snack shack near the dining hall where they would sell you like overpriced like milkshakes and whatnot. And at the beginning of the week, they were sold out of Fun Dip from the previous week. If that tells you anything, you guys know what Fun Dip is, right?
No.
You don't know what? Okay, it's from
Sounds
it's like
sexual position.
it's actually worse. It's from Willy Wonka candy. It is literally 4 packets of fruit flavored powdered sugar, like lime powdered sugar, cherry
Oh,
powdered
did
sugar.
you dip the candy
Oh,
stick
like
in
a
and lick?
lollipop or something.
It has like a hard candy.
It's sugar that you dip candy
Yeah,
in.
it's called Fun Dip.
yeah,
It's
like a hard
sugar.
piece of candy.
Why do we have diabetes
You lick
issues and
the-
obesity
you
in this
lick-
country? I can't imagine why.
You lick the sugar stick and you dip it into the powdered sugar. As soon as the Snack Shack got a shipment of Fun Dip in for like the next week, and it was like already Tuesday or Wednesday at that point, one of the kids in my troop went down there and bought 2 cases of it. And he actually had to get like permission from one of the camp people to do this. He then proceeded to hide it in his trunk in camp and was dealing it at double the price in camp. And
He's an American.
Yeah,
that's
they-
and that's what started the fist fight. Actually, was people getting ripped off and just hopped up on sugar. And then when our
Supply
Can I
and
tell my
demand.
one good Boy Scout story?
Yeah.
I feel really terrible thinking about it now, but man, it was a great idea at the time. I worked at the Boy Scout camp I used to go to as a kid, and I had this big. I was like, oh, all these, all the people that worked there, they were like heroes when you were a little kid. Like they're so cool and everything. So I went to work there for a month, and I'm like, wow, they're not heroes, and I definitely wasn't one. I had to take a whole bunch of scouts with a whole bunch, a couple other leaders as well, up on a overnight trip to learn like how to do, like build like a campfire and it's by themselves, cook, out of like aluminum foil, just simple things like little like survival type things. Well, Lucky Charms was a huge deal at Boy Scout camp, and there was only
Yes.
one box that would get shipped into the camp, and the rest would be like Cheerios and stuff.
freaking variety packs
Yeah,
were
we
awful.
would hold them back because the students would actually sell them. I mean, the scouts would sell to other scouts. Well, I got a hold of like 20 of them, and so I went up on this survival camp night. And as the kids are starving because you're only allowed to have a bottle of water and whatever they give you, just because it's supposed to be for the merit badge. I was going around peddling my wares to the kids. I was like, $2 for some cereal, like one. They paid up me $2. I made $35 that night.
That is the most American camp story I've ever heard.
oh, man.
Starving children.
All
I'm
right.
like, give me $2.
As we wrap down our last thing for the evening, I think Dave has a comment of the week for us.
Yeah, we didn't really have any real sassy comments this week. I was kind of sad, but in reference to the last podcast, this comment just made me laugh. It's actually directed at Joel, so just for you, Joel. The lanky soldier says, Joel, stop joling. Kids are watching. Oh, good times.
I usually do all my
right.
joling as kids are watching.
What? You can't say things like that in public spaces.
Well done. You're now on a watch list.
Another watch
You know the
list.
NSA watches this. In our large viewer base, the NSA's got to be in there somewhere. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and being a part of the show tonight. We know it was a long show. Thank you for sticking with us. Almost everyone, all the live viewers, stuck with us the whole way through, so you guys are pretty awesome. Definitely go check out Scanner Barkley's Patreon page, or however he would say it. Go check that out. And we've had numerous people on here before who are doing things that you can give money to. Just so you guys know, we never invite someone on here just to have them on. We only invite people on who we think their thing is actually really cool or really worth it or something you should seriously consider giving money to. So
Not that Scanner Barkley's not cool to have on the podcast.
no, he is cool. I'm saying we wouldn't.
We don't have him on because we're friends with him. We just will allow him.
Yeah, we
All
wanted
right,
to
well,
sell
you
this
took-
product.
Just trying to have a moment of sincerity and Joel derailed it as usual.
You just kind of screwed up your wording on that one.
All right, well,
This is the man who
Scanner.
can't talk, right, Joel?
Scanner, I like you. Thank you for come on show tonight.
Oh God, I think he wants to marry me. It's okay. Let's
And,
marry me.
But you can follow you at Scanner Barkley or at Evil Viking. Yoshi, what's yours?
Oh, sorry. What was that? I was. Oh, yeah.
Doing other things.
I don't have a YouTube Twitter set up yet. So
On the last time you're ever on the podcast.
Oh, no.
At Germ Gaming, and of course you can find us all on YouTube. You can even find Yoshi's new gaming channel, which has no videos on it yet, so maybe we'll pimp that out later when there's some actual content. But
I'm having trouble
Are
making.
you like donating videos to him, like
Channel
record a
art.
video?
yeah, because I have so many, because my upload schedule's so consistent, I have all these extra videos to pump out. But thank you guys for coming to watch. We appreciate you all. And, you know, this is episode 49, which means next week is the big old episode 50, which we, of course, have not made any plans for. So stay tuned. Maybe that'll be something special. Maybe it won't.
If anybody knows how you can get a way to be able to call in, we're trying to figure that out for at least at some point down. the
We'll figure that.
podcast.
Don't sell it. Don't sell it to. Don't give away all the good
Well, I'm just
ideas.
saying you haven't figured it out yet. Maybe some smart person on our
Yeah,
podcast.
well, I
might
haven't
know.
even Googled it yet. You were bugging me this afternoon while I'm walking around in Costco with my phone open trying to read Skype.
Well, then
I
don't
haven't
keep
really done a lot of
Skype open.
research. Well, you were talking to me through
Ladies,
Skype.
please.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to watch tonight. This thing is stopping now. Thank you very much.
Choo-choo.
And to all, a good night.
Stay casual.